Starting at 7 o'clock. It is 7 p.m. on the 26th of February. This is the Jamaica Selectboard meeting, a regular meeting. The first order of business is to call for any related additions, and I have two. Actually, I have one and a half. We're going to need to do an executive session that just popped up recently for personnel matter, which, by the way, we will come out of the executive session with a vote. So we'll need to, nothing personal, but you can plan on hanging out with it. And Judy has asked for...
Right, to talk about the substitutes for the transfer station.
Yeah, the process
The process of how we're going to
Okay, sounds good.
selecting them.
Any other related additions?
Yes,
What?
I have two.
Okay?
Just a conversation about the collaboration between the Muzzy Fund and Neighborhood Connection, and also a report on the VLTC Local Government Day Workshop.
What have you got new on the Muzzy Fund that we haven't already covered?
The question?
The question?
Yeah. I want to know the progress on it.
Does that have to be an agenda item?
Well, I don't know what he has in mind.
It's not a long question.
We get it.
And what was the second thing?
Judy is...
No, Joel's second.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
two?
got a question about the Muzzy.
No, yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing is a report from my attendance to the VLTC Local Government Day.
When was that, by the way?
That was
Last week sometime?
last Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah.
That was February 14th.
Oh, 2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks ago. Alrighty then. Second order of business is to approve the minutes of the February 12th regular select board meeting and the February 15th emergency meeting. These were all sent out to you guys electronically. Are there any questions, any complaints, any changes, any additions to the meeting of the February 12th regular select board meeting? If we have none, I would entertain the motion.
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
All right, do I have a second?
I took them, so I really can't.
I wasn't there.
Second.
And we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we are accepting the minutes. Thank you, ma'am. For the February 12th. The next order of business is the emergency select board meeting we had on February the 15th. The minutes are fairly, abbreviated since we don't take notes during executive sessions. They were sent out to everybody. Is there any questions, additions, deletions, corrections to this meeting on the 15th?
I move we accept the February 15th emergency select board meeting minutes.
Have a motion?
Second?
I have a second. Any further questions? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain, I wasn't at the meeting.
And an abstention. So the minutes are accepted. And then we'll move on to item number 3, which is the timesheets and the item number 4, the select board orders. We will do that as is our usual at the end of the session. I sent an email to Jen about discussing the mowing plowing budget for the school. I didn't hear back, so I'm not even sure she's in town, so we'll pass this on to another day. Next 6 is discuss a possible letter to the legislature regarding our concerns about possible changes in the open meeting law. The last time we talked about it, that open meeting law was in some flux. So what's the latest on that?
Well, I can speak to that. The new rule is about to come out of committee shortly. The change that would require an ombudsman has been dropped. The committee feels that it still pursues having serial quorum be illegal. In other words, serial quorum, if 2 people speak about the subject and one leaves and another one comes in, that would still be considered a quorum. So it would be legal for it not to be a warned meeting. And VLCT supports that.
That's not my interpretation of it.
Well, I spoke to people in,
I just read the second draft or whatever. And did it come out of committee?
not yet.
But it's,
That's why,
It's going to?
that's why I'd like to see a letter go to them as.
yeah, but that letter speaks to that really bad draft, the first one. That was
But it's,
just
the
insane.
second draft includes a provision to ban serial quorums. That you
Which
can't.
we do, we
No,
do
no,
that
no, I'm
anyway.
not, no, maybe I'm explaining it wrong. In other words, if we have two people in a room talking about a subject, and one leaves or doesn't leave, and another one comes in,
Right.
that's still a quorum. If
That's
it
in the
says-
second, that's in the second draft?
That's in the second draft. And I got that from,
I read it.
Gwen,
See it.
we'll call VLCT, and you can discuss it, I'll tell you who to call. if you want to
I know who to call, all right? I read that draft, and my interpretation may be different than yours. It really didn't seem to change from what the open meeting law already is. Except that they dropped another part of that was that they dropped the filing after a half an hour. You know, how we let people can come in for a half an hour. We can charge for.
That's a different subject.
That's on the
somebody-
same
Yes,
thing.
it's on the
though.
same thing, but that's not the part of it that I'm addressing.
Right.
In other words, that part of it addresses the fact that the town may charge people over a half hour for
Yeah, it's the
research.
same as it was. They
That's,
left it
we've
the
always
same.
done that.
Right.
Yeah,
but
they dropped that part of it.
Right, but the part about the open meeting law where people violate it if they have what's called a serial
Right.
quorum. And that's in the second draft. Or maybe, I don't know the numbers of the drafts, maybe there's one after what you read, but
I did read that the VLCT supported what,
Right,
the
but I,
last thing I read.
right, I spoke to Gwen Zakov, who's from VLCT, at this workshop that I went to, local government day. And she said that the VLCT does support this change, that if two people are speaking about a subject that would require an action at some point, and a third person comes in, even if the first person leaves, that would be a violation of a non-warned meeting.
And what was their support for that position?
VLCT supports that.
What is their support? Why would they support? What is their
All it says is
reason
they
for it?
support it, what I
They
read.
didn't give you any reasoning behind it, they just, we support it?
Well, because, to provide more transparency, they feel that would provide more transparency.
Well, is there a time element to that? For
Well-
example, if one person leaves and 15 minutes later, another select board comes in
If you
and
talk about the
talks, wait a
same
minute, I'm not
subject,
finished. And another select board comes in and then starts to, in the conversation, talk about it. Is that the continuation of that
it's
same
not a
meeting?
time constraint, it's a subject constraint.
No, but her point is that
Yeah.
that's gonna be real
When-
tough
when
to
does
manage.
it-
If I'm
yeah.
in my office, somebody comes in, half an hour later, somebody else comes in, they wanna talk about the same thing.
Yeah.
If it's in, well, that's why I encourage you to write the letter.
Is there a draft somewhere? I've
I'm
missed
sure there
something in
is.
between.
I'm sure there
Well,
is.
I
It's
don't
in
know
the
what you-
last VLCT letter,
Newsletter. yes.
newsletter.
Yeah, it's in the.
Did anybody
Yes.
make a copy for us so that we can look
I
at
mean,
it?
that can go on forever.
Sure.
It can
You
go on
might be
forever.
able to see Paul in the morning and I happen to talk to him
That
at
wouldn't-
night.
That wouldn't
Is
matter.
that a continuation of that meeting?
That wouldn't matter. To this,
That
to
does
this
not
writing.
make sense to me.
Whether or not it makes sense to you, it's not me making the rule, it's them
Right, I
discussing
understand
the rule, and that's why we were requested to comment on it.
Well, I think that
I
it
think
still
it'd be a
doesn't
good
make
idea if
sense.
we had a copy of that, the final
Well,
draft.
you sent the news, well, no, I get the newsletter from VLCT.
Yeah, I'm
I
probably,
haven't had time to look at
Speaks
it.
to the
yeah.
second draft, and
I'd like-
dropping the other part.
I'd certainly like to hear VLCT's reasoning for supporting something that on the face of it seems sort of absurd.
Yeah.
Well, they want every decisionable matter to be in the public eye.
But
So
we do
which-
that anyway. We don't.
We don't make a vote
It's
on
And
it.
the
serious.
items that aren't public, they're in the law, and we follow the law. We do it exactly the way we're supposed to do it.
The way a special meeting or an executive board meeting, minus the part of the executive session, the way we do that is all warned.
All of our meetings are warned.
Right. So if we have an ad hoc meeting in your office or in the town office, and we discuss about something that's actionable.
You're not supposed to. That's been a rule for years.
Exactly. But you're not, but they're defining it. In other words, they're not telling you anything that you don't know in terms of requiring everything to be in the public eye. They're telling you that this is a way that people have avoided being in the public eye, and it would be illegal.
Well, it definitely needs clarification.
Well, I'd certainly like to hear someone from VLCT support the position before we start arguing.
Yeah.
On the face of it, it doesn't seem to make any sense.
Her name is Gwen Zakov, Z-A-K-O-V.
Okay, so,
She's at VLCT.
Where did you find the second left?
In the
It's in the
VLCT.
Okay, then I
so
will look
that's all
that up.
coming to us, we haven't reached it yet.
I was wondering if I could get it right here.
I could get it right here if you need to see it.
Well, let's not tie up tonight.
I will look it up.
Let's
I may have
make sure we don't
interpreted
get
it
it.
wrong, but.
Well, let's all take a look
I didn't
at
think
it.
that they changed it that much from what we were
What
supposed to be
we're already
doing
doing.
anyway.
Yeah.
What we're supposed to be doing. And that goes to all boards,
Yes.
select board, library boards.
Any public body, any public municipal body.
All right, so let's see if we can get a copy of that, make sure everybody gets a chance to look it over. And then we'll continue discussing, I guess. I'd certainly like to hear their explanation of their thinking. There may be something we're overlooking, I just can't think of it.
And if it's gonna come out of committee.
And if it's even gonna come out of committee, it's still hanging around.
Apparently, it's very active now, and it says so in that newsletter, that it's very active now.
Yeah.
It's about to come out of the committee. I mean, it could be this week, next week, or next month, but it's about to come out of committee. Before that, the last time I reported on it, it didn't even have a bill number.
No, I watched it. I watched the people go up and testify against it. One from the select board and one person representing all the school boards.
Does it have a bill number now?
I don't know, probably.
You haven't looked it up
I
to
don't
see if
think
there
so.
was
I have
one?
not.
Okay.
So it may still be in committee without a bill number?
It may, it probably, I would think not at this point.
All right, so for tonight's purposes, we gotta get exactly what they're talking about. And I, for one, would like to probably, when I read it, get a hold of somebody to discuss it. I'd certainly like to do the other side before we make a decision, certainly before we start writing letters. We should hear both sides. All right. Does everybody get the VLCT letter?
We do.
You all get it? Okay, so we all have a chance to review that. Okay, number 7, we have excess weight permits. How many was it, 4? Did I count 4 or 3 or 4?
I think so. Would you like me to read them or?
Sure, why don't you take care of that since you're the guy.
Okay, one is from Beth Septic out of Westminster. What do you need, just?
Well, you got the receipt for the check,
Yeah,
right?
there's a receipt.
And this is a company we've been doing business with for a long, long time, so we have his insurance on file.
That's one. The next one is Lynn Well Drilling. And they got probably the insurance certificate if they're a regular. Here it has it.
Yeah.
This one has the insurance
Mhm.
and the fee for $10. Next one is United Natural Foods from Chesterfield, New Hampshire. They paid the $10, there's a certificate here. The next one, number 4, is Agency of Transportation, uniform, from the Department of Motor Vehicles, uniform municipal, oh, for David Chase, okay. And he lists all his equipment. He must have.
I think he does, 'cause, yeah, I asked him. Yeah.
And he paid $10.
Can I see this one?
And each of them have the usual restrictions, paper clip to, or I mean, staple to them.
They're stuck on, well, one of them,
Yeah,
United just came, so it didn't
Yeah.
get one, we'll get one.
Does, the food company from Chesterfield, do they go over the bridge?
Not
No,
the green
State
bridge.
Park?
No, they go to the store and then.
Oh, okay,
it's a-
because I was
it's
wondering
food
if they
service.
deliver to the
Right,
school.
no, it's a food service.
There's a Cisco,
And I think they go-
Cisco truck goes at the school.
School, yeah,
Is the school on this side of the bridge?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Schools on this side of it.
yeah.
I put it in the wrong place.
The only thing,
That's
See the
okay.
motion?
Bridge.
the only thing.
So-
I'll-
I would entertain a motion to instruct the road
I'll make that motion.
commissioner to sign these. Before we do that, okay, you got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? I'd like to ensure that the usual restrictions specifically about the bridge and muddy roads, those kinds of things are included on the,
It's in the,
statements, and they are. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, if you will sign those, and we can get those out. We also have, number 8, we have a liquor license renewal. This is coming from the Honey Pie Restaurant, which is at 6811 Route 30, Nelsonville. It has the check for the fee, and, is this another one of the same?
We got outside.
there's
That is the
outside,
check, I
yes.
think, yeah. And so, one of them's inside, one of them's outside, I believe. Where does it say that on here?
On the top, way on the top. it'll
Way
say
on
it.
the top, let's go to way top,
Way top.
way top. Sell malt and beverages.
And look at the other one, it'll probably say
Second
outside.
one.
Should be right on top.
Oh, outside consumption permit, this is the outside one, so that must be the inside one.
They're both only 20, or 115
Yeah.
plus the 20 for the. Does anyone have any problem with Honey Pie serving booze inside now? I don't.
No, I'll make the motion that we,
Alcohol, I mean.
Is that including hot liquor?
Class,
no, it's just beer and wine, I believe.
first class to sell malt and venuous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just beer and wine, I
Fair and
believe.
away. And then we'll have to sign that, we sign everything else, assuming we
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we approve. All right, then.
Do you have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second, any further discussion?
So they haven't been serving alcohol?
Yeah.
This is a
This is
renewal.
Oh, this is
These are
renewal.
This is
renewals.
a renewal. Yep,
I think this is the second one.
yep. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Okay. Oh, I have time for public concerns. Hi, Mr. Public, have any concerns?
I have a question about the land over on Water Street, Tom Tober. Is there any plans for that?
Well, the only plans are sort of negative plans in that there's so little we can actually do
Okay,
because of the restrictions with FEMA restrictions.
okay. One of the things that I had a number of people just talking in the town is a community garden
Mhm.
and setting that up, but I didn't know if that's ever been put out there. I know that we talk about parks and different things
Sure.
and such. I'm just curious if there's ever been a discussion. But I talked to 2 or 3 people and they're like, oh, that's a great idea.
You mean like parcels out for?
Like parcels out so people from the town could either lease
Yeah.
a spot or do, then they could have a garden if they didn't have the space to do it at their own property.
There was that,
We can't take money, we can't lease it out.
Okay, you can't lease it out.
We
Okay,
can't
so maybe
lease
it would
out.
just be free then, and there would be spots and,
Right,
first come, first served,
we'd have to
huh?
make sure, I would think that we'd have to make sure that, I know how people get excited in the summertime, in spring, when they want to plant all these gardens
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and then halfway through, vacations come up, you get tired, you kind of get tired of it, and then if it's left a mess, then the
And he
town
cleans it
will
up,
have to, you know, hire somebody to clean it up. That would be the only downfall, otherwise it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It was brought up when we were trying to figure out what to do.
Right.
Okay.
It was something.
But it's just,
and
we have to make sure that
It didn't get very far,
it didn't
Okay.
get,
And town of Jamaica owns that?
yes.
yes. And we can't even sell it to you.
No, I don't know.
Then you wouldn't need it, it's right
Well,
there.
yes, I looked at
Watched
Tom.
what happened to it the
Yeah.
last time.
Right.
I didn't hear.
But we should look, if this discussion goes in further, I'm gonna have to recuse myself, but, we should look into insurance and all that, people.
That's one of the
Burn
questions.
down the property and all of that.
One of the questions that came up when we were discussing, like I said, the discussion kind of floated out there and then back up. Because at the time, there was an awful lot of chaotic stuff going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, of course.
But one of the questions was the insurance liability. Somebody gets hurt out there with their own doing, who's covered if it's on property.
It's easy to find that.
And that stuff had, we didn't pursue it beyond the discussion stage.
Okay.
But it may be worth taking another look at.
Is it mowed down? I mean, that's the other thing, people were concerned that just overgrown.
It's gonna sort of,
We haven't been on it.
based on the neighbors,
Natural.
they want it to grow up
Okay.
to woods and whatever, just to be a natural area there.
Not that it matters what the neighbors want.
Yes,
Well,
it
it does,
does.
it does matter what the
Yeah,
neighbors
it
want.
does.
right?
But that was,
I mean, really, I mean,
I'm
that's,
being sarcastic, I
Yeah.
guess.
no, I understand what I'm saying.
no, but we have to think of the neighbors too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously adjacent to the land too, so
Right.
I'd rather have it cut down, to be just my opinion on that.
Yeah, well, see, there's a lot of lumps and lumps.
I'm aware, I've walked it a few times, it's
Yeah,
got to mess
so
up, I get
we
it.
have to really dig.
It is cut back about 10 or 15 feet off the sidewalk.
They do that, yeah.
Not much
Right.
more than that. There's a few apple trees out in there, and one outbuilding.
Still out there.
You know, Morrison's.
Well,
Morrison's shed.
To your question, it was a discussion a long time ago that's sort of fallen off the radar. But the big pieces of the liability thing and then who's going to maintain it in absence of people who say they're going to and then they don't.
Right.
But the prevailing attitude at the time was letting it return to its natural condition, and which precluded the mowing and all the other kinds of stuff that goes with it. But if it's becoming an eyesore, if it's a pain in your neck as a neighbor,
At this point, it hasn't been, but it's also winter, so.
It's really nice till summer. it grows.
It's still a liability thing.
Growing in nice, actually.
It is growing.
It is.
it's
nice.
nice, yeah.
It is a liability
Yeah.
thing, whether or not it's developed, so, I mean, it's town property.
Well, anybody's, your
Sure.
property is my
Right,
property is, I
exactly.
did,
Yeah.
you can't live in
Right,
fear all the
That's
time.
right.
Okay, well, I just wanted to bring that up and
Yeah, that's
hear what you
fine.
guys said, because I know it happened a few years back after the flood, so.
Well, and the discussion you're hearing now is sort of like what we had before.
Yeah.
And it's one of those situations where there's somebody else, there's other things we need to do, and we kind of, the big thing is we couldn't do anything that had a permanent structure. No impermeable pavement, no,
Interesting.
nothing that could be, we could put up, for example, you could put up like a key,
A gazebo.
gazebo, because it didn't really get washed away, but we couldn't even paint it. Because
You could put up a gazebo there?
Yeah,
Doesn't
it
that
was-
have to get a permit for?
probably, we don't know how
You
that
can't put up
works.
a
It's near a
permanent,
river.
you
But-
cannot put up a permanent. even
A
if-
gazebo is a permanent
You
structure.
cannot put up a permanent.
You can't put anything permanent that's going to interfere, but if you put them up, some gazebos can be washed away. The point was to protect FEMA. FEMA doesn't want to ever have to be tagged to fix or replace anything
They
that's
won't.
On that
washed
spot,
off.
I see, okay.
They won't fix it.
But what I'm saying, that's the way it's designed. So nothing that goes there can.
They wouldn't
Potentially.
fix our road again if anything was in out of whack
In Water
on
Street.
green space.
Right.
Wow.
So there's all kinds of little, and every time we turn around and try to think of something else popped up. And that's back when we were paying close attention to FEMA, and they were paying it to us. And so, I don't think anybody ever gave it up, it's just that it fell back to, back to burn.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, well, it might, who knows, maybe something else
So
will.
certainly can discuss it.
Sure.
I'll see if people want to come in and
Yeah.
voice their support.
Well, if there's
You know, again, I was just talking to people and I thought, what a great idea, and obviously I have a stake in that, as Andy does, as neighbors to the land and what happens to that.
there's a groundswell of public opinion. We just have to check the rules and see if make sure it fits.
Okay. Thank you.
We should know how the insurance interprets that.
Well, we can check out.
I mean, I think when it comes to that, you can look,
Yeah, when it gets
we
to
can
that
look
point,
further into it, but I wouldn't take the time right now to There's a lot of other things we need to
Our
take
current
care of.
insurance, our current legal bills right now are so ridiculous. But it's still, it's not dead, it's
Okay,
just,
yeah.
it's just limping.
Yeah, but I just thought I'd throw it off the
Sure.
cuff, you know, that's,
Yeah,
yeah, obviously not really anymore.
Sounds good. Let's go quickly through this. We're gonna have to have a really quick executive session, but we'll do that after the other two. Judy, you wanted to talk about how to process the,
Yeah.
uh,
The two people who would be coming in if Dan Moore weren't able to work. And I guess the question that I have is does the whole board need to meet with the substitute prospects? Or shall I meet with them and then bring the information to you guys to make the decision? How would you like to do that?
I think that if they're gonna be employees, we all ought to meet them. If they're gonna be an employee of some
Yeah.
sort, I think we all ought to meet them.
Just like we do any other.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the question that I have is, when can we put that on the agenda? Because right now we don't have it. We have one substitute, but that ends the end of March. And then we will be without substitute.
Okay,
So when,
Can you tell us whether these, the two people you're talking about are working during the day or during the evening in some way that one
I
place
think-
time would be better than others?
one I don't think is working, and the other one probably part-time,
Okay. So the time is a critical item.
yeah.
okay, maybe,
I would suggest after one of our board meetings, have them here so that we don't have to come out
Maybe
special.
before one of our board meetings, that's a
Yeah,
little bit better.
or
date.
before, either
yeah,
one.
maybe
before
you
or
can
after.
check and see the next board meeting and if they're available to come here.
The next board meeting is gonna be the 12th. Is that too far down the road for you?
That's a March,
March 12th, yeah.
no, I think that will work.
So can we explore the possibility of seeing these guys at 6?
You wanna do that?
Yeah.
Try
That's fine
that.
with me.
See one at 6, one at 6:30, how's that sound?
Okay,
All right.
And that's March 12th, did you say?
yes,
I think that's the next Wyndham Regional Transportation meeting.
well, that's a regular board meeting.
Right,
Right.
but Joel just gets here in time for that, for the
But
regular.
I get done there at 6. So I can get here at 6:30, but
You could probably do two in a half hour. I mean, there's not that many questions to
Yeah, really.
ask.
And I will meet with them ahead of time anyway, so that I can kind of prep.
So you think 15 minutes apiece would be enough?
Yeah,
And if we go a little further into the meeting, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Or if something happens, we could just do it like we're doing it with the clerk interviews. Those have nothing to do with the regular.
yeah.
Yeah, we can slide it into the other timeframes. All right, so right, just for planning purposes, let's call it 6:30 on the
Okay.
12th.
Yep, it's good.
Okay, so we'll expect 15 minutes for each one of them.
Good.
All right, and then you can figure out which one's first, goes on their own schedule. All right, I like the plan. Next item, you wanted to, I had a quick question about the Muzzy Fund.
yeah, I want to know if we have signed an agreement with Network Connections,
We have not.
Neighborhood Connections.
We have not.
And I would like to know one as well.
Good question. We, she and I, put together separate memorandums of understanding, and she submitted them to, they have an attorney on their board, and because he's free, we sent our two, and the plan is to come up with a combination. I called her today, and I didn't get a call back, so I'll call her again in the morning. But it's one of those things that, the guy's volunteering his time on his select board, so I'm sure it's gonna be not based on our time frame, based on his time frame.
I have a question. I was speaking to some people who have been involved with the Neighborhood Connection, saying that we no longer, the town of Jamaica, is receiving support from them.
That's not the word I'm getting from L'Oreal.
No, that isn't true, because I had a
Okay.
meeting with with the Jamaica Helps Committee, and she came to the meeting. She talked about the fact that she supports Jamaica. They used to have someone who came to the church. I believe,
Yes, they
once a
had
week.
someone that.
They don't have that right now.
Right,
And she had a relationship with Norma.
uh-huh.
And since we don't have a minister in the church right now, she doesn't have a relationship with anybody. But she still has an ongoing.
Okay, but
commitment to Jamaica.
The whole organization is supporting Jamaica.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's to me was very important.
No, she was very
However that
clear.
gets done, I don't have any,
You know,
Because I believe we give them, there's one of our appropriations.
yes, I know. That was one of
Right, to
my
make sure
second
that
questions
our-
was, why are we, if this is true, why are we supporting them with $500?
Right, if they're
No,
not.
that's
no,
not
they
true.
still strongly support
Okay.
Jamaica.
And what committee did you say? The
Jamaica Helps.
Helps?
That's not part of the town, that's
Right.
independent.
Some reason I thought they just helped like London area, but I think there's a lot of.
No, they-
I know some people that.
They
Or
support, as far as I know, they also support the town of, I always get Wyndham mixed up with,
Weston?
no, north of Stratton. Winall.
Oh,
So I know they have a relationship with the town of Winall as well.
I believe they're more regional.
They're
They
more
cover a
regional.
lot of the area around here.
Yeah.
They have a lot of resources and they've got some sources.
Usually they send us something with the people that they've helped.
Yeah.
Right.
Internet, I don't know
But
if
she
we
was-
received something from them or not.
From the very beginning, the MOU is very easy to write. The only thing we just needed to make sure both agencies are covered appropriately. But we're not waiting, and neither are they, with this MOU. People can go to them directly, or they can come to the town and we can refer them directly. But they should be the first stop because they have far more resources than we have. And the Muzzy Fund becomes an adjunctive asset for them to be able to tap, should that be appropriate. But there's lots of things they can do for people long before they ever get to us.
And that's why I'm encouraging this.
Well, there's nothing holding us up from doing it right now. What we're trying to do is make very sure that the MOU is sound legally to make sure we're not going to get ourselves in more trouble. As far as helping people, that's ongoing. That's never waned at all.
And they can go to Neighborhood Connections without,
They don't have to come here at
they
all.
don't come here to look for the
Exactly.
Muzzy money, they can go to Neighborhood Connections first to see what they have to offer, and then,
And they have,
It's my understanding that they would, if somebody came to them first and we had that kind of connection with them, that they would match the money they take from us.
well, we haven't talked about matching the funds. What happens is if someone goes to that connection, the neighborhood connections, they will do the full assessment.
Right.
And understand that one of their options, and with all the other options that they have, one of them is to tap into the Muzzy Fund if that particular individual situation
Warrants it.
or fits the criteria that we've established. They're using the same criteria we're using right now.
Right.
Yeah, so,
We're still the financial people though.
We
We
still
vote
say
that
yes.
money.
exactly.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
Right, but I see it as a benefit if they go through them first, that if someone is eligible, it's better for us that they come to them first and that be in terms of how they finance it as
Yes,
well.
I agree with that.
So we're not giving this person the entire money out of the Muzzy Fund.
Right, what I also like about it is the fact that they have people who professionally know
Right.
how
The
to,
training, right.
what's the word I'm looking for?
That,
Vet, thank you. Whether they're deserving of whatever.
so you let us know on that.
but I put a call in today to see where it was. I hate to bug people about their gratis stuff. But if it was interfering with getting anything done, we could have been on it sooner, but it's not. They're wide open. They maintain everything the way it always has been. We both agree, both of our MOUs are such that they're easy. It's just have to combine this with little legal pieces to it to make sure that her people are covered. Because she has a lot of funding sources
Right.
that have some
Right.
specificity. about how
Beyond
they-
the
yeah,
Muzzy
exactly.
Fund, for sure.
But she's been very receptive, and we've worked well together in the past. And just historically, this outfit stood up when Irene hit us, and was a superb partner in getting people help in the midst of the battles of what were going on in Irene. I had nothing but respect for that group, all of them. They they worked their butts off. And a lot of times they're working in areas, not really one area of expertise, but they looked around and, well, nobody else is doing it, so let's do it. So it worked out pretty well. So I've had years of experience with these guys and have been absolutely impressed from the beginning. Okay, next, you have another question. Oh, you wanted to make a report about me?
Right. So I went to a local government day on February 14th in Montpelier. The first part of that meeting, we attended the Joint House Senate Transportation Committee hearing. Many select board chairs and town managers testified to struggling with the increased cost of complying with the conditions of the MRGP, which I forgot what it means. But it has to do with rivers and drainage into rivers, pleading with the transportation legislators to increase funding to municipalities for this purpose.
Is that Act 68
And,
roads
it's the
and?
Clean Water Act.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't remember the number. There were many people got up and spoke. Some people said things like funding is not even close to being adequate. There's a real stress at the local level. Local taxes are going to make up for lack of state funding. And bridges are unsafe and falling apart. Municipalities are not spending money on other important projects, and so much is going to maintain roads. We're going to have to deal with that starting now, starting this year, I believe.
I think Andy was already on that.
Right. Yeah. Two people from Brattleboro testified about the need for increased bike and pedestrian pathways along state roads, citing accidents, near accidents, and fatalities to make their points. In discussions with them later, it's clear their points about bike and pedestrian safety could apply to other towns along Route 30. I spoke with Gwen Zakov, who was attorney at VLCT, about proposed changes to the open meeting law. She indicated that much work still had to be done on the wording. Many municipalities had communicated with VLCT and the Government Operations Committee, but additional input is welcome and will help legislators understand the issues small towns face. In the afternoon, there was a meeting with Joe Flynn, who was the head of the Department of Transportation and DMV. He talked about Better Road Program, designed to help towns, $60,000 cap on funds per town. He mentioned there are 1,700 electric vehicles in Vermont. There were many concerns, and many people spoke about toxic and pollution effects of road salt. Some attendees would like to see the state investigating using alternative methods. Don't laugh. Beet juice and cheeseways are possible fluids. $10 million out of $600 million is allocated for improvements and developments of bike and pedestrian paths. Many felt that is not enough. Strategic priorities for the DOT, currently updating statewide transportation plan. There was talk of bus service of Route 30 is the one thing that I noted. Improved highway safety, focusing on making centerline rumble strips more widespread. Increasing passenger rail service. The Western is complete from Rutland to Burlington. Need to work on the Eastern Corridor and return the Vermonter to Montreal. There are also plans to have a level 3, which is a 30-minute EV charging station within 30 miles of within 30 miles of the Vermonter train range. That's about it. Also encouraging more money to Amtrak because funds are being removed from the Amtrak budget.
Was there any discussion about the current state of the bridges that are in disrepair throughout the entire area? About pouring some of the money? I mean, I appreciate bike paths, but we've got roads and bridges that are crumbling.
Well, yes, and I agree, and I did speak about that, and I'll talk about that in a second, but people didn't bring up topics like bridges, but I had a private conversation at lunch with the state senator, and that person said that if I'd send her a note and some pictures describing the bridge, they would look into pushing it forward.
You have some pictures of this bridge.
I gave you one.
Yes.
I have some others.
Was it our state senator? White?
No.
So
I don't wanna mention her name. Okay, there, I gave you some information, but I'm trying in every corner to push that bridge repair. And I also keep mentioning the other bridge, it's all off the candidate list, which is on the pre-candidate list again.
Well, I think that's the one that's getting the least attention. I think the Iron Bridge is getting some attention, but this one right
Well, the
here,
Iron Bridge is number 2 on the candidate list.
yeah, so that's the least on the list.
You know, I thought, well, number 2, it's gonna be done soon, but
Yeah.
number 2 could be 3 years from now.
Sure.
Or 10.
I heard 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
it's more
Number
I
closer.
heard they might move it up next month to number 1 in our region.
Really?
Well, that's what I'm pushing. When
I heard they're going to.
Transportation.
Well, that's good.
Well, that's good. March 12th is the meeting that we'll be discussing bridges.
Mhm.
And I didn't put it on the agenda, but so you don't think I'm not paying attention, I call it the Clean Water Act, but Keith, our road foreman, has told me that the Wyndham Regional has been mapping towns, and I believe they've done some of Jamaica,
Mhm.
Yes.
and they told Keith that Jamaica is one of the towns that is in, more fortunate than a lot of other towns because of the havoc that Irene caused and what we had to do to repair it. So a lot of those things have been addressed, it sounds like, and they're gonna do the rest of the town when they get to it.
Yeah.
But Keith and I have been talking, and when I get something to present, maybe me and him, or
Mhm.
we can tell you exactly what they've been doing.
Sure.
I'd like to be in on that conversation.
But and watching on, well, BCTV, the legislative sessions, that's enlightening.
Mhm.
I forgot what I was gonna tell you, but, there are some other towns that are really gonna struggle, and it seems that when we apply for our permit, I shouldn't be saying this without the literature in front of me, but we have to get some sort of permit by July 1st, and it's gonna cost a couple thousand. It's gonna be 2,000 every year until it all comes into compliance in 2035. So it's not like, we have to start doing it all at once, but we have to not play along, but we have to,
Have you had conversations with Erica Roper?
one.
One, yeah, she's a good resource.
Keith
She
is in
knows-
contact with her.
I know
all the
he
time.
is.
She may have been the one that was helping her,
Yeah, I think so. I got them in touch a couple of times.
so,
I was reading that little pamphlet that they handed us for homeowners around the waterways and roads, et cetera, and driveways, whether that's dumping into the streams and things like that. So.
I don't think it's going to be as bad for Jamaica as it sounds,
Uh-huh.
but
But-
more will be revealed. when-
I think Keith's been kind of doing a little proactive work.
Keith knows where
He must be
Where the
going,
problems
He
are.
is.
I
he
bet
must
that's-
be in touch with the Better Roads program, I assume.
He has to be.
Well, there's money there.
Well, we have to be too. Isn't that the orange book?
Yeah. Parenthetically, for those of you who are on TV, the brochure that she's talking about is available in the town office.
Oh, good.
Yep. All right. Anything else this evening that we would like to put in? We're all set, we got everything covered.
To go into executive session.
Is that? Yeah, we got the executive session.
I just have a little information as a health officer.
Sure.
I got a call, and I won't go into detail, but it was, by the time that I would have acted on it, it was referred to the state police. And I just took the guy's statement and have it documented in case I'm called or we're called as a witness.
Nothing requires any action on our part right now. So the next order of business, we have a very brief executive session, after which we will be taking a vote, and then we should be able to call it a night. So I need a motion, if someone could make a motion about going into executive. First, find that this personnel matter would be detrimental to the employees.
All right, you want to go for it?
Sure. You want to, here's the motion.
Okay. I move to find that.
You got it?
I move to find that premature general public knowledge clearly would place the town at a substantial disadvantage because of the select board's risk disclosing its negotiation strategy if it is discuss the proposed contract terms in public.
That's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, that passes.
Okay, Alexa, Andy.
Sandy was a second.
Yep. Okay, next one. I move that we enter into executive session to discuss the town's personnel issue under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes.
Second. Is that a second from Judy? Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We go into executive session at, let's call it 7:45. We'll use that clock just to lapse, and we should not be long. Okay, this is Jamaica Selectboard's return from executive session at 7:56. And I would entertain a motion. Does someone like to make a motion? Would you like me to make it?
You can make it.
Not so much a motion, just information that the Jamaica Select Board has elected to accept a settlement offer in the case of a lawsuit that we have been working through for the last several months. The settlement is going to be $7,500. Anybody like to add anything?
That'd be paid by our insurance company.
The insurance company will be paying that fee, that's correct. Then I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned at
6.
7:56. Thank you.